Crenshaw simply says, LOL, no. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Wait, hold on. He wasn't joking in the original video. Maybe that was a joke.
Hello everybody, we are back. And today we're back with the Young Turks, where Ana Kasparian and her co-host, whose name I can never remember, are talking about Dan Crenshaw being caught on a hot mic threatening to kill Tucker Carlson, of all people. Now, this has been blown up into a thing, and even Marjorie Taylor Greene has commented on it. But let's take a look here. They're going to play the clip of Dan Crenshaw making this so-called threat. It's very hard to hear. The audio is terrible, so if you are watching, you can read the subtitles. Let's get into it, and then I will comment on it later.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him, he's the worst person.
There you have it. Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw saying on a hot mic that he will effing kill Tucker Carlson. And he says, I'm not joking. Which you should remember as I give you the details of how Tucker Carlson responded to this and what Dan Crenshaw later said. So this was after an interview that took place last week. Texas Representative Dan Crenshaw was caught on that hot mic saying what he said about Tucker Carlson. The interview was published on February 20th, but the clip was only just revealed. Now, when asked to comment by Marjorie Taylor Greene, Crenshaw denied the incident, which again is on video, and he said he wasn't joking. So here's Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, did you threaten to kill my friend, Tucker Carlson? Dan Crenshaw simply says, LOL, no. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Wait, hold on. He wasn't joking in the original video. Maybe that was a joke.
No.
It was, he said LOL, which is a thing people say when they're joking. Why are you trying to make comedy illegal?
Oh my God. Okay, so look, I honestly have not been following or had not been following Dan Crenshaw's beef with Tucker Carlson, but the beef has been happening, okay?
Simmering.
It's been simmering, it's been sizzling, it's been seared. So the feud seems to have started back in 2022 when Carlson said this.
The bad arguments that our side is making is very depressing, and they're almost pro-Russia. People are saying, well, we can't put baby formula on our shelves, but we're sending money to Ukrainians. And my response to that is, you know how much baby formula you can buy with $40 billion? None. None, because it's not a money issue, it's a manufacturing issue. It is not America first when you let Russia and China do whatever they want around the world and establish their version of a global order. That puts America last, because we cannot prosper in a global order led by Russia and China.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what you're talking about, Dan Crenshaw? No. But the point is, anyone who disagrees with Dan Crenshaw is pro-Russia, frankly. Well, frankly, Dan Crenshaw is attempting to deflect from answering obvious questions like why the concern over Ukraine's borders and no concern about the border of your own state, Texas. You know, the more I think about it, it takes a lot of gall for Eye Patch McCain to attack moms who are worried about baby formula as, quote, pro-Russia. I mean, that's probably one of the most outrageous things I think I've ever heard.
Okay, a few things to comment on there. First of all, yeah, Dan Crenshaw's probably right about the baby formula. I'm sure maybe there are were production issues or manufacturing issues. I have no idea. Doesn't matter. On the other hand, I think Tucker is right to call him out about the borders thing, because basically that is what all the Western politicians in the United States, around the Western world, in Europe, where I live, they're all saying that, you know, they're all acting suddenly as if Ukraine's borders are inviolable, and Russia, by invading, you know, has violated the sanctity of Ukraine's borders. Now, yeah, that is not America first. America's borders, you know, if you're an American politician, as Dan Crenshaw is, they all should be worried about, and they should all be clamoring to close down America's borders, especially the southern border, which has been porous for many years now. and has let in God knows how many illegals, not just illegals, but God knows what else. And it's not just Mexicans coming to work in the fields. That's the way it used to be, Mexicans coming to work in agriculture. That was traditionally, I'm old enough to remember that was the thing. Now it's people, literally people from around the world. They fly into Central America, then they walk up through Central America, through Mexico, arrive at the border, claim asylum on some BS asylum claim, and they're let in for no reason. And then they're told on the app that they were given that they will get a court date to appear for their asylum hearing or something. And of course, that's all backed up. You know, they don't get court dates for years and years. The whole thing is a mess, and God knows what other bad actors have just walked into the country because of our traitorous and feckless politicians. So yes, secondly, the Ukraine-Russia war is not our problem. Not our problem, just not our problem. We should not be sending billions there, nor should the Western Europe. We've got many other problems to deal with. And what's all this? And of course, the so-called right-wing American politicians are saying things like that they're acting like Russia and China are the enemy of the United States, which is simply not true, or the enemy of the West in general, which again is simply not true. Yeah, China wants to do big business. It wants to do business, make a lot of money. Chinese love doing that, and they seem to do a pretty good job at it. We offshored our production and it ended up going to China. That's our fault. That started in, I guess, the 80s, 90s. So our politicians are basically destroyed in America, when I'm saying but the West too, have basically offshored all our manufacturing capacity to China. And that is the fault of our leaders.
Okay.
That's not what he did
at all. Okay.
That's wildly intellectually dishonest.
I really don't want to get sidetracked with, adjudicating who's right and who's wrong in this, Republican on Republican violence. But I will say this. He was right about the baby formula. It was a manufacturing issue. There was bacteria getting into the baby formula, and there's a monopoly in terms of, manufacturers of baby formula. And so they had to shut down manufacturing, thus lowering supply for baby formula, emptying it had nothing to do with sending money to Ukraine. You can have total disagreement with the US foreign policy in regard to Ukraine. You could say you don't want to send money to Ukraine, but that is a separate issue from the baby formula issue, separate, completely separate. So he was right about that.
And pointing that out does not attack the moms, it attacks the pundits who try to imply that those things are connected.
Exactly. So I disagree with Tucker Carlson's take there, but let's get to what has happened. Now, Carlson has gone after Dan Crenshaw repeatedly in the years since. He has called Crenshaw a committed neoliberal. True, but aren't you neoliberal too? I know in recent years Tucker Carlson pretends like he's not, but he had no problem with the tax cuts and the austerity measures that the Republican Party had been taking for decades. Anyway, but I'll continue. He's also said that Dan Crenshaw is the most left-wing person I've ever met in Congress. And even asked why isn't Dan Crenshaw bagging groceries at Walmart? Okay, so Crenshaw was asked about Carlson's views.
Because F people who bag groceries in Walmart, in case it wasn't clear, Tucker Carlson. Why does he get like a good, respectable job? Why does he have one of the cheap, stupid peasant jobs that I don't give a damn about? Says Tucker Carlson, the populist.
A lib defending Crenshaw. I guess Crenshaw must be a lib.
Yeah. I'm not as left as Dan Crenshaw in Congress, obviously.
Obviously. Okay, now Crenshaw was asked about Carlson's views on the Ukraine and Russia thing. Here's what he had to say.
Just coming back to this $100 billion to Ukraine, I know that people like Tucker Carlson will make the argument that there's a real opportunity cost there. We could have spent that money on the border or fixing, issues in America. Yeah. What do you make of that argument that all this money could have been spent to help Americans and not Ukrainians?
Well, you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. We spend
We spend 75, 80% of our budget on a welfare state in America, on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I would love to ask Tucker what he thinks that $100 billion should be spent on, and if he would vote for it as a conservative. Tucker doesn't know what he's talking about. Tucker likes to visit Moscow and talk about how great the grocery stores are. So I don't really take his advice very seriously.
What kind of answer was that? That was a perfectly reasonable question. Yeah, Tucker said we shouldn't be spending 100 billion, 200 billion, 300 billion, whatever it is, on Ukraine in a war that Ukraine simply cannot win. So therefore, Dan Crenshaw, Tucker says that we should be spending that on homes. There's plenty of problems in America. And Dan Crenshaw just came up with a so-called answer, which didn't answer the question at all. We can walk and chew gum at the same time? No, you can only spend money on one thing at a time. Yes, there's other wasteful spending in the United States, of course. We all know that. The U.S. federal government is insanely bloated. Not just the bureaucracy, which is bad enough, but yeah, defense spending is bloated, etc., etc. But his answer made no sense at all.
And then, of course, as he was still mic'd, he talked about how he would effing kill Tucker Carlson and said, I'm not joking. I really don't like Dan Crenshaw. I just want to be clear about that. Even though, we just talked about how Tucker Carlson was misrepresenting his argument. What Crenshaw said there about, basically wanting to cut social safety net programs.
Yeah, they both suck.
Yeah, I loathe both of them. Okay, but anyway. But in response to Crenshaw's threat against him, Carlson posted the following: why don't you come sit for an interview and we'll see how you do. I'll send you my address. So obviously Tucker Carlson is not afraid of Dan Crenshaw. That was why he said, I'll send you my address. Let's do an interview, whatever.
Anyway, this whole so-called threat that Dan Crenshaw made is, of course, not a threat at all. He was just saying it. I mean, I've said things like that myself. I'll kill that guy if I see him. You say it when you're angry about somebody. Obviously, it wasn't a threat. He didn't say, hey, Tucker, if I ever see you, I'm killing you. That's a threat, right? He was talking to somebody else who mentioned Tucker Carlson to him, and he said, I'll kill that guy. Obviously, there's no love lost between the two. It's made-up drama. The Young Turks are trying to get views out of this nonsense. But I am glad that I saw, however, having said that, I am glad that I saw that clip of Dan Crenshaw, because he's useless. I mean, it seems to me that he is just a total swamp creature, even though he was being touted. I mean, he hasn't been a politician that long, but he was being touted as a based right winger just a few short years ago, and now it just sounds like he's completely been subsumed by the swamp, and is just yet another swamp creature. And he's extremely loyal to Israel, like all those federal politicians. Like the first thing he says when he gets into office is how Israel is our greatest ally, and how Russia and China are our greatest enemies. Yeah, I'm not buying it, Dan Crenshaw. I hope you do go do an interview. I hope you take up Tucker Carlson's invitation to be interviewed by him. That would be interesting. Tucker had a great response to this so-called threat. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and continue making more videos for you.